Anthony Fauci was key to circumventing the ban on gain-of-function research that resulted in the Wuhan lab being funded by us to do this work. So if this was a natural spillover event from a wet market, then Anthony Fauci is in the clear, right? If this is the result of ill-conceived gain-of-function research taking place in Wuhan, partially at our direction, that's a whole different ballgame. And so part of what you and I have experienced, right, the incredible pushback that we have gotten for just noticing obvious patterns, right, patterns of dishonesty, patterns of evidence that aren't being discussed, that is about the fact that those who are responsible cannot allow a full investigation. I don't know what will happen if the truth were to fully emerge about not only what was the explanation for how this virus came into the world, when it came into the world, right? Those are really important questions, but also what we failed to do, what responses we failed to deploy, and then ultimately we get back to the questions of Geert Vanden Bossche, right? Because we didn't deal with the pathogen properly at the beginning, because we didn't deploy the drugs that we had at our disposal that did work, we ran out the clock on the brief period of time when we might have driven it extinct or at least controlled it. And in lieu of that, what we got is a proliferation of variants, and this is utterly out of our control now. This is now a pathogen that is learning tricks that look like they allow it to shut down our own immunity. And what's more, the fact of these IgG4 antibodies that likely have an attenuating effect on immunity, right, which would explain why vaccinated, and especially heavily vaccinated people do seem to be so vulnerable to this disease now. But that offers an opportunity to other pathogens that can figure out that small sequence, that motif that will allow them to trigger the same stand down, right? So we are now dealing with, yes, one pandemic, but also a mechanism that will allow other pathogens to evolve and escape of their own using our so-called vaccine response and its impact on the immune system.
So this could potentially, as people are vaccinated and then boosted again, this would accentuate this mechanism.
Yes, the more, so again, it appears to be, and there's a whole world of things we might discuss with respect to the distinction between the DNA versions of the so-called vaccine and the mRNA version. There is a radical distinction in the implications of these things, both for personal health and apparently for the pandemic. The DNA version does not appear to trigger this. But yes, for people who got the mRNA shots, the more of them they got, the more pronounced this effect.